Good afternoon, everyone. This is Stephen Howson. This is United preview, no, they said review then, for Tottenham Hotspur against Manchester United at Wembley. It is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's sixth game in charge of United, and so far he's gone 5 for 5. And all the people saying, do you know what? It was 5 winnable games. It absolutely was 5 winnable games. But it was also winnable games where Jose Mourinho fell foul, and probably a lot of the reason why he lost his job in the first place was not winning those winnable games. Now, there is absolutely zero denying that this game against Tottenham is a huge test for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I'll tell you right now, if there is a draw on the table, I'm taking it. Because a draw away at a top 6 rival is a result for the away team. You don't take those at home. At home, you've got to win every single game. That's the idea that you set out with. Doesn't usually happen, but that's the idea that you set out with, to win every single one of your home games. It's on the home team to come and win this. I'd take a draw. Can United get a win here? I actually think we can. I think we would have been possible that we could get a win under Jose, because he is good in this sort of game, generally. Although it would have been a completely different style of football that you would see from United under Jose trying to get that win, and it would be trying to nick a win rather than going out there and trying to blast them out of the park, which is what I think that Ole is about to try and do. If you are enjoying the video, please remember to like the video, because that helps it get found, and that really means that it gets more views and stuff like that. That really means a lot to us. And also subscribe if you are new around here as well. There's all sorts of content coming out, and I am aiming for 100,000, but 71k at the moment, which is mad. I can nearly fill Old Trafford with the amount of people that want to subscribe to me, which is mind-blowing. But 100, so you guys can help me get there. So I think it would be a completely different style that you would see from United if we go there under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, Pochettino is the second favourite to get the full-time United job after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I think he's assembled a team that is better than United's. But the reason that I say I think United are the third best team in the country is I actually think that Pochettino and his attitude is a little bit pulls Spurs down. The fact that they haven't won anything under him, I think, is a perfectly valid criticism for a man that's got a team that is perfectly capable of winning stuff. If you go through this team, now, what if he's meant? Exactly. If you go through this Spurs team, it's fantastic. A lot of people will tell you that defence, brilliant. Trippier, oh, fantastic. Those two centre-halves, brilliant. Midfield's fantastic. Dele Alli, one of the most underrated this. Like, Ericsson, one of the most underrated this. Son, one of the most underrated of this. Harry Kane, best striker in the world. But they haven't won anything. And as a collective, I think that's a real slight on this team. And I think the reason for that, a lot of the time, is Pochettino's attitude to winning trophies, which I don't think is acceptable. Ole's coming at United and he's gone, we have to win everything. That's what we should be aiming for, and that's where I want to get us back to competing for everything. And I think he gets that mentality, and I think that mentality is an enormous reason. Pochettino coming out and saying, I don't think winning the FA Cup would do anything for this team. You haven't won anything in how long? What do you mean you don't think winning the FA Cup would do anything for this team? Winning mentality begets winning mentality. That's you foster it in players, want to win everything from throw-ins to coin tosses, let alone trophies. And I just don't think it's acceptable for Pochettino's attitude to be the way it is when it comes to trophies. And I think that I honestly think that the difference is purely Pochettino. I think he's got a great set of tactics on him. He can clearly develop youngsters, but there's more to being a successful manager, and that is about going out there and steamrolling stuff and being that ruthless winner at times. And maybe Pochettino's got it in him. I'm not completely saying he doesn't have it in him, but I worry that he's got it in him. I don't necessarily see it in him. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, on the other hand, has already won a couple of titles. Back to back. Is that better winning a league in Norway with a team that hadn't won it for a long time? Or is it better to be a person that's competitive with a team that's arguably been good enough in recent years to have won something? I think that's up for debate. And I think this is a real audition for both managers. Because for me, if Pochettino doesn't beat United, when we've had a new manager, which everyone calls inexperienced, if he doesn't beat United with his settled team, which is on paper better than ours, how can you give him the job? How can you give the man a job when he would been bettered by a manager 3 weeks into a job with a disjointed team? How? And on the flip side, if Ole goes and is embarrassed, Maybe it's not the job for him. But what if he's mint? What if we go there and we turn up and we put it to Spurs, and we score an early goal, we weather their storm as they come back, second half starts, we make a couple of adjustments, we score another goal, we ride it out 2-0 victors at Wembley. What then? What if Pochettino wasn't able to tactically compete with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? What then? Why would you want to give a job to a man that doesn't quite get what United are all about? Now, in his press conference this weekend, though, Pochettino decided to... he is literally trying to win United fans over. Says he was at the Nou Camp in '99 watching Ole Gunnar Solskjaer score a goal. Never heard that story before. Where's that been hiding? Is that Pochettino really trying to endear himself to United fans? Is he lying? I don't know. I imagine he was there. He was at Espanyol around the time, wasn't he? So I imagine there's a very good chance he was there. But what a strange thing to be pulling out in a press conference. Anyway, let's talk about Tottenham. For me, Tottenham's key man, it's not Harry Kane, it's Son. Son makes these guys tick. I think if you can keep him quiet, his movement off the ball, his chance creation, his setting stuff up for other people, that's the key man. That's the real danger man about Tottenham that you've got to keep quiet. Harry Kane puts things away. If you give him the opportunity, you're gonna get punished for it. It's as simple as that. But you can cut the supply off to him and you can really stop Spurs ticking. And that's this guy, and that's Son. And I think he's the one that you've really got to watch out for because he is the true danger man in my eyes. And I think United really have to stop that guy playing. Now, in terms of my starting 11 for United, I think this is mad because we can actually see a United 11 that I think most of us could probably predict this week, and we'd probably, I think, be right. If we start at the back, Big Dave in net, absolutely zero shocks there. I've gone for Ashley Young over the low because of the defensive capabilities. I would not be shocked to see Darmian here, and I would not be shocked to see Valencia in here. This is the most shaky of all the selections, I think. I've gone with Ashley Young because Wembley, you might need a shit house. Ashley Young's a top shit house. Left back, I'm going with Luke Shaw. I think this will be a more defensive night for him. You've definitely got to look after what's happening with the Spurs front line. I'm really excited to see how United do, actually, when it's not one of those winnable games where you're supposed to turn up and put loads of goals past them. I'm really interested to find out what Carrick's influence is going to be, what Mike Phelan's influence is going to be, and how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer deals with a test like this, going to Wembley, and with the pressure that's on him. If he comes out with a win here, it's party time. I think Luke Shaw's going to have a lot to do, so I don't want to see him or Young really getting over that halfway line. I want to see them just in and around there, helping us break, helping us defend, and also helping us in the transition as well, but not getting too adventurous. Certainly don't really want them overlapping, and if one goes, the other really needs to stay in this instance. Centre-half has pretty much picked itself, Lindelof and Jones. Basically the only fit and available ones that we have. Eric Bailly probably would have played if he wasn't suspended. Now, the good run of form that Lindelof has been on could come to a really sticky end against Spurs because the way they play, the direct sort of style of play that they play, with how good Harry Kane is in the air, these are all the things that Lindelof has been weak with. He's excellent defending the channels, he's excellent pushing players out wide, he's excellent when the ball is on the floor. The way Spurs play, that direct, real physical sort of number 9, this is the weakness of Lindelof. We're going to see if Lindelof has turned a corner, if he can manage to deal with that and Harry Kane this week. Phil Jones alongside him. Phil Jones is an absolute conundrum, isn't he? Sometimes he looks fantastic. Sometimes there's no doubt that the guy will put his body on the line for anything. But he's got an absolute clanger in him. Let's hope he keeps that in his pants this week and we can get through this. In midfield, Nemanja Matic completely rejuvenated. I wanted to see him dropped as much as every single other person, and he's proved all of us completely wrong under Ole. I don't know what was holding him back. I thought he was one of Jose Mourinho's boys. Looks like he's took all of Lance Armstrong's medicine cupboard. He looks fantastic at the moment. I will be coming to questions in a bit as well, so if you want to get your questions in, I will be hitting those up in a sec. In midfield then, Ander Herrera, he's been fantastic and he looks like he's settling in as a first choice player. Talk of him signing a new deal as well, which would be absolutely fantastic because I think he was a certainty to go under Jose. Alongside him, for the first 3 games of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's reign, Paul Pogba was the best player in the world, bar none. it was absolutely obscene, the numbers that he was putting up from midfield. If he goes to Wembley, puts in a performance, gets man of the match, and pushes United over the line against Tottenham, people need to shut the fuck up about Paul Pogba, because this is the time for him to go and do that now. There's no excuses for him not to go and perform. The opportunity is there. Let's see what he can do. On the right-hand side, Jesse Lingard, we're going for work, we're going for movement, and if you noticed how good United have looked when Jesse has been in the team under Ole, it's all about that press from the front. That's the guy that needs to lead it. Tony Marshall on the left-hand side, we get the ball in front of him, we give him an opportunity, and I think he scores a goal. And then Marcus Rashford up front, who has been sensational under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And for me, Marcus Rashford is going to be United's key man for this week. There's talk that there is someone has said to Ole that, or Ole has said to Marcus that he is the first choice centre forward, which I think is phenomenal. He started every single game under Ole, and I think this is fantastic. Sanjay in the comments saying, any chance of a 3-5-2 with Darmian as one of the centre backs? I think that might have been something that was possible if Jose was still here this weekend. But under Solskjaer, no, I think he's probably going to stick to kind of what he knows and what's forming as a pretty decent side for him. Those first 5 hits was a good run at it for him. Now let's see what this team can actually do as it's getting there together. So I'm going to come to the questions in a second. Before we get to that, this video is sponsored by the absolute legends over at Perfect 10 from the Sportsman. Listen, it's completely free to enter. All you got to do is hit the link in the description, join my private league. If you're top of my league at the end of each month, you win a United shirt. And look, completely free to enter. All you got to do is put your email in. That's it. If you're top of my league, by the end of every month, you win a United shirt. If you happen to be some sort of like clairvoyant Mystic Meg type of character, and you think you can actually predict all 10 of these, then you will win 10 grand. No entry cost, nothing. 10 big ones. I'm going with Burnley in the first game. I'm going to go with Crystal Palace in the second. I'm going to go with a draw with Birmingham and Middlesbrough. I think Stoke are going to finally pull a win out. New manager syndrome going on with there for those. Ipswich to beat Rotherham. I'm going to take a draw in Swansea versus Preston. I'm going to go with Villa, Oxford, Charlton and Sunderland to round it off. And I'm going to say 25 goals as my tiebreaker. There you go. That is the perfect 10 done for this week. If you want to get in the mix, all you got to do is hit the link in the description. It's completely free entry if you want to come and win £10,000. And we've already had a winner this year. How cool is that? 10 grand off a free entry. Listen, why wouldn't you do it? That's what I'm going to say to you. And even if you don't win 10 grand, you can win a United shirt just by coming top of my league. It is as simple as that. CJ Baller says, you never watch Spurs week in, week out. You don't know what Poch has to deal with. They never had the depth to compete. He is playing Sissoko and Winks in midfield. I like Harry Winks. He's better than Fellaini. It's your fucking problem. And Sissoko, pretty decent. Do you know what I mean? Like, this isn't, you're not talking pure poverty here. And as for like, he didn't spend in the summer, he didn't need to. If I give you 100 million, you're going to struggle to improve that Spurs starting 11. I've said it many times. You can go and get free transfers that improve this United starting 11. That's the difference. He didn't have mega money to spend and chose not to spend it on just nonsense. Like, the team is better. It doesn't matter what he's dealing with. The likes of Winks are such a miles better option as a rotation than someone like Fellaini is, or someone like Ashley Young is. And that's what we're dealing with in our starting 11. So I don't know what he's dealing with. I do know what he's dealing with. You've got a great team and you just haven't won anything, and that's the problem. Sanchez on the right says, Gatner. Not in this one. I think I would go with Jesse Lingard. It's been proven so far. And Sanchez is an option off the bench. I like that very much. I'm going to head over to the Patreon group and see what the crack is with the questions over there from all of those guys. Do you think Tottenham's extra fixtures will go in our favour? I do wonder, to be honest. I do wonder what that trip to Dubai has been all about. I do wonder what they managed to get done there. It sounds like they did get a lot of good work done. And I'd be really interested in seeing the results of that. Hopefully we've been rejuvenated by it, and hopefully that the lads that have gone there have enjoyed it, found it useful, and obviously Spurs had to play a semi-final this week as well. So hopefully it can all go in our favour. Right, so from the Patreon group, we have got Ranabir says, think about this from Ollie's viewpoint. He actually has no impetus for signings, although he can clearly see holes in the defence. His primary motivation as an interim is about getting this group of players to the best ability and squad management motivation. The attacking midfield is sorted. The defence looks seriously untested under Ollie. With a manager who's so focused on squad management, why should he be bothered about the transfer market and look to get in transfers? He's basically trying to insinuate that we don't have any reason to expect transfers this Jan. No, I wouldn't expect transfers this January, but if you listen to, like, try and read between the lines of the things that Ollie said in the press conferences, he says, I've been asked my opinion on transfers. So I think that the club probably is working away at them. Does that mean we've got a director of football in? Not that I'm aware of. Does that mean that someone thinks that they're the director of football? Very probably, and you probably know who that is as well. There's obvious holes in the squad. It sounds like Ollie was appointed by a group of people. If the same group of people are looking at transfers and asking for input from the coaches and the manager, then I don't see any reasons why, just because he's the interim manager. Apart from Sir Alex Ferguson, basically every manager is an interim manager, aren't they? So if someone thinks, yeah, if 7 people around the table go, well, he definitely improves our squad, I don't see any reasons why United wouldn't go for it, to be honest. Brian, what do you think will happen with Andreas' contract? Heard the club have no interest in renewing. You've also said there's a policy against releasing players on a free. Same question for Matter. Yeah, the talk that I've always had, like, I do know his agent, and the talk that I've always had is, I thought he was going. That seemed to be the word, is that he was probably going to go. But there was talk coming out the other day that he might have agreed a new deal. And I hope he does agree a new deal, because I'd love to see him stick around at United. I think he's fantastic. I love the guy. Same for Matter. I think Matter's a little bit different. I think it's probably time for his last big contract. And I think in terms of usefulness in a team, it very much depends on which manager's going to be around. But I could make a case for Matter being moved on for someone else to come in and take that wage up. I think he's probably on significantly more than Ander is. And I would probably allow Matter to go and see if you can let him go to somewhere that you could maybe take someone from them and you'll make it favourable. That's how it works, and it scratch my back and I'll scratch yours and all that caper. You can have one Matter and we'll give you a load of dough for this up and coming player, maybe. James says, would you have taken Moussa Dembele for Spurs for the reported 9 million that he's off to China for? Seems like a bargain to me and would be a better backup than most of our centre mids. Yeah, I don't understand this one in the slightest. I really don't. I mean, I get that someone's offered him obscene amounts of cash to go. To be fair, every single Premier League player, even those, you know, on the bench at Bournemouth, are obscene to normal folk like us. So I don't know what it'd be like to be offered that kind of cash to go and play in China. I have no idea. Babe says, I get the pros and doubts of both managers, but in my head I think there are maybe a little bit more to Poch than meets the eye. Some of the lack of trophy talk from him could be defending the board and Levy. Doesn't really make sense to me that a manager wouldn't want to win whatever he can. Granted, you'd rather get top 4 than just a cup, but their squad should be able to do both. And you're right, he should have won something by now. Yeah, I think you might be right. There might be ulterior things happening, and it's like the Fergie never come out and slag the Glazers, even though there was a hell of a lot to slag with the Glazers, and that might be him protecting them to some sort of a role. But I think that you can't dismiss the fact that he's not won anything. I think it's very important, and I think you can say, oh, it's only Spurs. Yes, he's done all right to get them in the top 4, but didn't Harry Redknapp have him in the top 4 also? And Harry Redknapp's won trophies as well, so he has to have won stuff for me. It's not even if he's not won anything. Be gutted about not winning things, rather than being like, yeah, I didn't win, oh well. Show that you actually care. Mitz, who's sat here, why is he texting me? Do you think Ashley Young will have an important role in stopping the fullback and putting a ball into Kane? So if he plays right back, you're looking at, is it Rose? Has Rose been playing there for him? Let me have a look. Actually, I don't know who's played most there for him this year at left back. I know Trippier's been smashing it, or Ben Davies, yeah. Have a look at how many crosses Ben Davies puts in a game. 2 seconds, and I'll be with you in a second. Passes. Let's go for crosses. He's only kind of putting one in a game. He's only really putting sort of one accurate one in a game. So he might. I mean, yeah, it might only take one to win the match. I think this is work as a team sort of game. You've got to win the ball high up the pitch. It's probably going to be more the ball in the channel, I think, that you've got to look out for. And the movement of that front three with Ali, Son and Kane and whatever midfield they choose to go with behind it. I think that would be the problem that United really have to fix up and worry about is those balls in behind, because we're going to play a very high line. You're probably going to be able to get behind our fullbacks. And if you're getting behind our fullbacks and you're isolating the likes of Jones 1v1 with Kane, which should keep everyone up at night thinking about that, or you're thinking about, Lindelof trying to compete with a cross coming in, you're in trouble. So you've got to limit that ball coming through midfield. You've got to make sure you win it. You don't allow the ball to come through midfield. There's a big game needed from everybody in this. This is a genuinely team game. I can't wait for it, but it's a problem. Josh, I'm assuming you're back in Oz now. Which Deadwood needs to be sold immediately? Don't say Ashley Young. Well, I'm going to say Ashley Young. Deal with it. After City's 9-0 win, it made me think about some of your famous United wins. What's your favourite United smashing? The 8-2 of Arsenal has to be for Josh. The 7-1 at Roma was pretty spectacular. Also, we stuck 9 past Ipswich. I was there for that one when Andy Cole scored 5. And you kind of just don't think it's real when they're happening at the time, don't you? Unfortunately, there won't be many City fans who can say that they were there that night. Clayton says, is Smalling fit? Usually does well against Kane. Now, you're right there, mate. Yeah, I think Smalling would do pretty well against Kane. Smalling actually is all right against the more physical sort of players, and Lindelof is a little bit of a nightmare against that sort of player. But he looks like he's still a doubt for this game. And I'm going to say it, unfortunately, because I think he'd be pretty useful. Let's see what some of you guys are saying in the comments. Any youngsters to break through? We are just writing a video which will probably be released in the next week or so. 5 academy players to get their debut under Solskjaer, because looking at the next couple of weeks, probably not going to be any for the next couple of weeks. He screws us up if he does. It's United. It's pretty easy to make bank for your club. I don't know what that's in relation to. Except Spurs, except Lloris, every Spurs player walks into our team. Yeah, I would agree on that. And that's the point I'm trying to make here, is that they should have won something by now. We need a director of football urgently, says STH. Completely, mate. Absolutely, completely. Mourinho won everything and flopped. Mourinho was way more complex than what you're going to get in a single sentence like that. Mourinho did win things. He's definitely the right man for United, just not the right man for United and this particular set of players. This particular set of players might be more suited to someone like Solskjaer, who's probably never even close to Mourinho in terms of managerial ability. But this squad suits him better and suits his personality of trying to attack. I think if Jose comes from a long line of goalkeepers, and I think that when you look at how midfielders, I think Matt Busby was a striker, so Alex Ferguson was a striker, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a striker. Is there something in the way strikers see the game and how they want the game to be played? Where did Ron Atkinson play? Ron Atkinson was kind of wild, wasn't he? Let me have a look where Ron Atkinson played. He was... talks about him being a ground staff boy. He was a wing half, nicknamed the Tank. All right. He scored 14 goals in 384 games. Not an attacking player. Let's have a look at Tommy Dock. I'm just wondering, is there something in the way certain players see the game and the way they like to, Guardiola was a midfielder, and is he all about possession because he played in midfield? And is there something about Jose coming from a line of goalkeepers why he was more about stopping the opposition and clean sheets in terms of just absolutely blasting people out of the water, scoring? Playing career, Tommy Doggett, blah, blah, blah. Why does it never tell you where they played? It was a right half. It's like a number 6. Right, we've got some quotes from the gaffer, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, in the press conference. Can you full screen them for us, please, Will? So he says, we've had tests. Newcastle away was a test, the first game. You get tested in every game in the Premier League. But of course, this is against a top side. There we go. I'm going to have to start drinking every time he says top. That's his proper little twitch, innit? If we want to get closer to them and go past them, we need a good performance and result. I totally agree with what he's saying on that. This is the real test. He knows it's the real test, and I think he's gonna turn up with it. And I honestly cannot wait to see how we line up against these and how we do against them. All right, we've got the next one coming up here, and he says, I've been brought up in a way that we need to attack teams. That's our strength, attacking as a team. We've got to be ready for when we get hold of the ball, play well with it, and use the whole pitch because it's a decent sized pitch. Well, that's a bit of an understatement, talking about Wembley, isn't it? But he's right, and I think that what you've seen in these first few games from Ole is how he's going to approach this game. I think he'll probably be more wary at set pieces. The fullbacks might not be as adventurous, but I think we'll press from the front, and I think we'll try and move it forward very quickly. And because Spurs are going to do the same, Spurs aren't going to hit in the low block. Spurs aren't going to get 10 men behind the ball. You might see a basketball game of football here. It might just be boom, 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 end to end, and then it's a case of who can have the better finishing. And I actually back United for that. If we have the same number of chances, I back United to win this game. And we've got a final one there. Pogba looked okay towards the end. He'll be fit. He came through the last couple of sessions well. He'll be okay. And I do think Pogba will have a massive part to play in how this game goes down on Sunday. There will be no United review, I'm afraid, on Sunday. Should we win, I'll probably do one on the Monday morning. So apologies for that. For those of you who know why, I can't wait for that. And yeah, it's a perfectly valid reason. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to subscribe. Hit that like button. Let's try and get this video over 1,000 likes. Get all of your questions in. I'll answer some of the comments that you post in very soon. Keep it locked, and I will see you in the next one. Laters.